Good evening and welcome to the 6th District City Council Democratic Committee Town Hall meeting. My name is Kevin Kelly. I am the chair of the 6th Councilmatic District Democratic City Committee. Tonight, we want to thank the City Committee for their sponsoring this series of events, and then to our ward members for their efforts in planning tonight's Town Hall meeting. As part of the City Committee, the 8 individual wards seek to engage neighbors on matters pertaining to government and city life, providing information on Democratic candidates, representatives, and issues of interest while advancing GOTV, get out the vote, efforts in support of the mission of the Delaware Democratic Party. We welcome participation tonight from citizens throughout the city in our wards, particularly in this important very election year. If you live in the 6th District, you can feel free to contact me at 302-559-9510, or you can email me at 6thdistrict@comcast.net. To learn more about the Wilmington Democratic City Committee, visit www.deldems.org and select City of Wilmington as one of the subdivisions. Primary election day is September 15th. It is not that far away. It is going to be here before you know it. In the interest of your health and safety and relative to COVID, all registered Delawareans may now vote by mail in the upcoming elections, including the state, city, primary, and presidential race. So for the first time now, everyone can vote by mail. Your vote in both the local and national elections is more critical than ever, as we will face unprecedented challenges throughout our country and city. Voting by mail is a safe and sure way to have your voice heard. I got my letter in the mail the other day, so I've got a letter that tells me exactly what I've got to be able to do. All registered voters should have received their letter by now. It's coming in the mail. If you haven't, give it another day or so to be able to do. You have to fill out the form that's attached. There's one right here that you can do. Or you can go to ivote.de.gov, and you can go register online. If you see this little document here, up in that little corner is a little barcode. If you have a scanner on your phone, like I do, you can just go right on and select that bar, and it'll pop right up and come to iVote for you, okay? So once your request is processed, you'll receive an official vote by mail ballot. So you'll get a ballot in the mail with all of the people listed from the everyone in the primary who's running will be listed on there. You can return it in the prepaid postage envelope, or you can drop it off at your county election office by 8 p.m. on September 15th. For us in Newcastle County, that is at the City County building, the state office building on the 4th floor is where you would take it. Voting by mail simply is an option made available to help protect your health of you and your loved ones. If you prefer, you can still vote at your usual polling spot. In Browntown, there's been some voting changes real quick. So if you live in Browntown area, Hedgeville, or in my district, Broome Street by St. Inez, you will vote at Claymore Senior Center this year. People who live in Bayard Square will vote at Bayard, and those at Canby Park will vote at Douglas School. So there's been some changes in where people vote. You can always visit the state webpage to be able to find out more information, or call 577-3464 to get information, or email vote by mail, Newcastle County, Delaware. Thanks for participating in tonight's town hall meeting. For once, I'm on the other side. I've been through more debates than most people ever had, but I think it's a great opportunity now to understand a little bit more about the 4 excellent candidates that we have running. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicholas Brock, who's going to give a little bit more introduction from the City Democratic City Committee. And thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome everyone. My name is Nicholas Brock, and I'm Vice Chair with the Wilmington Democratic City Committee. And as Kevin mentioned, tonight's event is one of many virtual town halls the City Committee is hosting. So please like and follow our Facebook page to remain engaged regarding state-wide, local, and national elections occurring in the 2020 cycle. The rules for tonight's virtual town hall are as follows. Candidates will have 3 minutes for introductory remarks and 1 minute for closing statements. The town hall will be broken into 2 segments, the first being the moderator question segment, and the second being the participant question segment, which includes questions submitted prior to the town hall and those received over the live stream. So if you have any questions that you want posed during tonight's event, please direct them to the Wilm Dems Facebook Live feed, as we'll be monitoring those questions and be receiving them as they come in. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to questions issued during the moderator question segment and 1 minute to respond to questions during the Matt Marshall will be tonight's timekeeper, using green, yellow, and red indicators to signal to candidates time remaining on a given response. And the moderator for tonight's town hall is Jeannie Kwong with the News Journal, who covers Wilmington City Council, the mayor's administration, and other stories about the city or relating to the city of Wilmington. For those unable to watch tonight's town hall over Facebook, WITN Channel 22 is providing live time coverage of tonight's event and will continue to rebroadcast the virtual town halls on their channel leading up to the election. And with that being said, I'll now pass it on to Jeannie to kick off tonight's programming.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. The first question will be for each of the 4 candidates to give an opening statement outlining your background and your platform for the 6th district. We drew numbers, and Yvonne Murray gets the first chance to speak.
District, and I would love to be your next council person to help enlighten everything that's going on that possibility could use a little more enlightenment. I'm here to help and to serve the community, as well as being a part of everybody that's here. If you have any questions, I'm always available and just want to give my support. And I would love to be your next City Council for 6th District.
Okay, thank you. And next we have the current Councilwoman Yolanda McCoy.
Thank you, Jeannie. Good evening. I'm Yolanda McCoy, the Wilmington City Council person for District 6. Byard Square, Browntown, Candy Park, and Hedgeville. Thank you for electing me. I wish to thank the Wilmington City Democratic Committee and the 6th Ward for hosting this event and the other candidates for being here. A little about myself. I've been married for 20 years and I've raised 1 son, who's 25, and I'm now raising a 12-year-old here in the city of Wilmington. I'm a pet parent, both a cat and a dog, and my husband and I have purchased our home and moved into the Hedgeville community 15 years ago. So I've worked for almost 15 years now in the human service field. Each position dealt directly with community members and helped them access resources. I began working for Westside Grows Together on the Wilmington's West Side. And in a few short years, well, that was a few years ago, but in a few short years, the changes that we were making in that area actually made me take a closer look at my own community and what changes I would like to see. So I ran for office as a public servant, not a politician. And I am proud of the 3 years that I spent on the 107th session of Wilmington City Council. The legislation I've sponsored and the projects that have been completed, all in the most talked about session that Wilmington City Council has ever had. Yet there's still more that needs to be done. And I want to continue what has been started. And I, Yolanda McCoy, ask for your vote on September 15th.
And next we have Josue Ortega.
Hello, Jean. First of all, I would like to thank God for giving me this opportunity to be here, to be able to express my vision for the 6th District. So greetings, everyone. My name is Josue Ortega. I am born and raised resident from Wilmington, Delaware. And as many of you are aware, I am son of former 5th District City Councilman Josue Ortega. I've been in the community, working with the community ever since my father was in office. It was embedded in me to be a helper. And I'm out here helping the constituents the best way of my ability. I've worked I was in the county for about 5-6 years, working with the administration of Tom Gordon. Then I came into the constituent service department in the city of Wilmington, where I've learned and seen and lived the issues that our community is needing, and they strive for, and they want. So I am here to be your voice. And come September 15th, vote for Josue Ortega, the choice for better change. En estos momentos, quisiera darle las gracias a las personas que sacaron de su momento para poder estar aquí en Facebook Live. La pregunta es, ¿sabe? ¿Qué puedo hacer para ¿qué voy a hacer para Distrito 6? Mi nombre es Josue Ortega, soy nacido y criado aquí. Estoy corriendo para la posición para una mejor calidad de vida para nuestro distrito, y pienso que trabajando juntos podemos llegar a ese lugar donde nosotros podemos estar juntos y trabajar juntos como una comunidad y salir hacia adelante. No se olviden, el 15 de septiembre voten Josue Ortega, el mejor candidato para esa posición, y que trabajará por usted siempre, los 4 años. Gracias.
And lastly, we have Ian Smith.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Delaware Democratic Committee for putting on this town hall event. I'd like to thank the residents of the 6th District for participating and showing up to make an informed decision by mail or by ballot on September 15th. My name is Ian Smith, and I live in Browntown with my wife of 10 years, Donnie, our 2 miniature poodles, Ming and Charlie, and our regular visitor, Godson. I am the director of Delaware's Youth Advocate Program, where I manage a little under $600,000 worth of youth programming geared towards juvenile justice reentry program, young men who are coming home with handgun charges, and an elementary school program created with the idea of preventing them from being in our other program. I am a first-generation American. What was instilled in me was it's not where you're from, it's where you're going, and when you get there, get to work. I am a graduate of Coppin State College. I have a degree in social science, minor in political science, and I've spent 25 years working in urban settings, which is more than half my lifetime. I am the vice president of Browntown Civic Association. I am a founding and board member of Innocence Delaware that looks to exonerate people wrongly convicted of crimes. I am a board member of Light Up the Queen, which is a nonprofit portion of the Queen, which looks to provide high quality programming for children with dealing with mentoring, education, arts, and employment. I am involved with, as a vice president of the Civic Association, is what inspired me to want to run for city council. It was during that time that I became aware that other residents were feeling what I was feeling, which was that within the last 4 years, very little movement was being made on youth programming, addressing the homelessness issue, addressing the open prostitution, mental health issues, connecting kids to educational programs. And that inspired me to want to stop sitting on the sidelines and get involved. I'm looking for an opportunity on September 15th for the final decision to be made to put all my experience and all my talents to the job. I am looking forward to working with the residents of the city, and not only the residents of the 6th District. On September 15th, it's an opportunity for us to go into these new challenging times. COVID is requiring us to be a different type of leadership. COVID is requiring us to be present, to be in the community, to find resources, to connect people to resources. I'm looking also to address systematic inequities that exist in our community. I'm looking forward to an opportunity to addressing our relationship between, and I look forward to sharing more later. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for your opening statements. Now we're going to move on to questions that I have prepared for the candidates. The candidates will get 1.5 minutes to respond to these. And if you're watching and want to ask a question, you can put your question in the comments of the Facebook Live video and we will get to those later tonight. So the first question is, what should city government be doing, or what's the #1 thing that city government could be doing right now to assist residents in recovering from the coronavirus crisis? And the first speaker is Yolanda.
I apologize. Thank you, Jeannie. So the question is, what is the #1 thing that city government can be doing to assist our residents? Well, actually, one of the things that I have pending right now, some legislation, is a moratorium. What I realized is that the city government, they had actually put a hold on the finance department at the moment when it comes to parking meter tickets and things of that nature. And also now the water bills and and such. So before that, before the corona actually happened, I'd already put in a piece of legislation, an ordinance, to take a better look at our finance department and how we were actually receiving the water bills. We've had a lot of residents complain, stating that, you know, when things change from quarterly to monthly, how their bills increased. I wanted them to take a better look, see what this process is, why we've actually had such an increase, and we wanted to make certain that people actually were not going to lose their homes, which we have seen happen. But it's not just water bills, but it's water bills amongst other things. But water bills are pretty much the highest thing that they actually are accruing. And people are losing their homes because of something like a water bill, a house that's probably already been paid for. So we wanted to make certain that that's something we would take a better look at, a closer look at. And the moratorium was supposed to be for 12 months so that the finance department get whatever that they needed done. We can figure this process out so no one would lose their homes. And if there was any correcting that needed to be made, it could be. The next step, actually, I think
the timekeeper is saying that your time is up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Cut you off. And the next speaker is Josue.
Can you repeat the question real quick, please?
Yes. What is the #1 thing that city government could or should be doing right now to assist residents in recovering from the coronavirus crisis?
Ok, la pregunta para las personas que no saben mucho inglés, la pregunta es, ¿qué yo creo que es que si yo creo que la número 1 del gobierno que están haciendo para ayudar la comunidad con el COVID? Okay, so the question is, I think the government has been doing a lot that they should be doing. I agree with the water billing. The water billing, yes, it's a big issue. But there's ways that we need to sit down. We need to sit down as together, as one, and come up with solutions. Let's get with the community. I feel as though we need to sit down with the community, also with the leaders, and we all come together so we'd be able to come with up with solutions for the ongoing situation, the pandemic that's going on. That's something new that we have to start living with. This is new not only to the leaders, but it's new also to us as a whole, as a community. So I think what should be the #1 thing is community, is giving back to the community. We have to work together to come up with something for this COVID. It's new to all of us, so it's something that we have to work together with. Mi contestación es, para poder, el #1, para poder, yo pienso que el COVID es algo nuevo para todos. Es una situación bien difícil. Tenemos que trabajar juntos y seguir trabajando juntos. Gracias.
Thank you. Ian.
Well, first, let me say that state of Delaware, I believe, was ranked #2 in their response to assistance in terms of COVID. So far, things have the response was pretty good based on a national level. But the next level is just a matter of education. So how do we get information from government officials to the residents? So that's not only using elected officials, but spreading that message through civic associations as well, block leaders as well. Also, education is important. As we all are aware, COVID is constantly changing. We're constantly getting new information. So we have to make sure that we're using all channels to assure that the latest information about COVID is being given out so that people can make the best decisions. The next piece is figuring out what are we going to do about school and what is education going to look like moving forward in the fall, and making sure that people are getting back to work as soon as possible, but in a safe way, and figuring out new ways to employ people in this new COVID era. Thank you.
All right, and Yvonne. Yvonne, you're muted. Could you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me? My apologies. Can I be heard?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jennings. But what I think the city and the government could be doing for the state of Delaware and, working together as far as the coronavirus is something that I've always been doing. I believe in teamwork, and my apologies for not telling all my spiel about who I am and what I've done and what I've done in the past and who I am today. That's my reason for running. But I continuously stay on board with what's going on. The coronavirus, I know it shook everybody. So what I think, first of all, we need some teamwork. We need to work. The communities all need to come together, regardless of what district you're in. We're all in the state of Delaware. And then the children in the schools, because they need that education to keep their minds flowing, because they're not going to be kids all day, all the time. They're going to eventually grow up. So that's very important for the education there for the corona. And the jobs. Families are very well, they're hurting. Some people are doing better than others, but at the same time, the ones that are doing good, let's try to maintain. And I think the government and our city together needs to come and, figure out, do a better job as who needs what, instead of just throwing out all the money and just going everywhere. And then the need where it really needs to be, it's not getting there. And then we want to talk about the elderly. I'm a caregiver. I'm an advocate. I'm getting ready to open up my own resource center and a reentry program. So I have a lot of knowledge of dealing with people that are disabled, a lot of knowledge of dealing with the prisoners that come out, and working closely with James Vaughn. What is it, James T?
Yvonne, I'm sorry to say that your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next question is, what can city government do to ensure that housing is affordable for residents of all income levels? And the first answer is Josue.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
Yes. What can city government do to ensure housing is affordable for residents of all income levels?
Okay, so what can city government do? La pregunta es, ¿qué puede hacer el gobierno para ayudar a las personas que son el ingreso bajo o que el ingreso completo? Okay, I feel as though we need to come. It goes back to coming together and sitting down at the table and really coming up with solutions that affect the whole community, that it can benefit the whole community as one. At this point, I think we need to we need to implement, there has to be more resources for these for low income constituents in our district to be able to be homeowners. Y I'm just going to say it in Spanish real quick. Y mi contestación para eso, yo pienso que necesitamos trabajar juntos y buscar maneras de implementar recursos para poder ayudar las personas que son bajos de ingreso, para poder tener su casa y para poder ser dueño. Y para poder ser dueño es un privilegio y pienso que yo, siendo homeowner, puede ayudarte mucho. Thank you.
And the question goes to Ian.
Okay, so affordable, first thing is, how do we increase the amount of money people are making, right? And so looking for opportunities to increase our hourly rate, job opportunities, right? So that would be the first thing that we want to do. And as we develop new homes, making sure that we're not pricing out residents that already live in our community. So taking advantage of low-income housing credits, making sure that the residents that are part of the fabric of that community are allowed to stay in that community. So right now, I think it's something like you need to make $22 an hour in order to be able to afford a 2-bedroom home in the city. So we either need to decrease the cost of homes or increase the amount people are making. And ultimately, the next level is this: it's more cost effective to own a home than to rent a home. So looking at home ownership programs, getting people from becoming renters to homeowners is critical in terms of being able to address this. So I think a blend of the 3 things that I just mentioned is what would be needed based on the individual that we're speaking of. Okay, thank you.
And next is Yvonne.
Yes. Okay, the question was, what can city government do to assure housing is affordable? Can you hear me?
Yes, that was the question.
Okay. Well, the one problem that I always encountered, that was as being a homeowner and going through the program myself, is making sure that you have the right funds and your credit is good. So those programs need to be in place and be instilled in order for individuals to want to be homeowners. That was one of the problems and one of the things I mentioned when I was going for my house. So luckily I, did my own stuff as a homeowner. The neighborhood house is how I got my house. But technically it takes the person. I mean, you have to be in the program. You really do. And you have to get those bills. So if you're giving money from the city or the government and they're telling you to do something and you're doing something else, you're never going to stay in line. You're never going to have your home. And I've known this from experience. So I think keeping individuals in line of where they need to be. Let's say the resources that they need, the programs that they have, pay your bills. If you're supposed to pay your bills on time and you'll get this home, whatever, I mean, do it. It's just education, just a lack of education and the knowledge that people have. And not only that, we got to pay attention to whoever's telling us what to do and just stay focused. I think focus is the key right there.
That's your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So the next question is more directly related to the 6th district. The 6th district has...
Jamie, I didn't get a chance to
Oh my God, I am so sorry. I'm skipping over. There's a lot of candidates. I'm sorry. Yolanda, your question about housing affordability.
Thank you so much. So my answer to that question is more about starting with the down payment programs and live where you work. Let's start trying to encourage people to come here to the city of Wilmington, to live, to work, to play. Find out whether or not by bringing people here, we could probably start decreasing like crime and things of that nature. Another thing that I can think of is maybe, seeing whether or not there's any type of legislation that we can pass in order to halt, rent increases. And I'm actually the co-founder of the Healthy Community Subcommittee, which is basically, it is a subcommittee dealing with we have in that committee, we have renters, homeowners, property managers, housing policy advocates, all coming together to actually try to create housing policy that works for everybody here within the city. I think that no better group of people will be able to find legislation that actually works how when it comes to being a landlord and what you could afford and what you want to make certain that your tenant is able to pay to make certain that you can pay your bills. I think that these are the types of policies that need to go through the Healthy Community Subcommittee. This committee is pretty much, we've only been on it about a year. We've already got one ordinance passed. And I think that this is the type of thing that can actually work and find out about making certain that there's affordable housing right now rather than what's actually being built, to come. Because housing right now is actually, it is very expensive to build. You're looking at $200,000 per home, and you're looking to sell these homes for like under $140,000. And there's a lot of types of subsidies and things of that nature that need to go into place in order to get that done.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that again. The next question, as I mentioned, is very specific to the 6th district. The 6th district has, in the past decade or so, lost some major institutions serving the local youth, most notably Pulaski Elementary School and the Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club. What do you propose to replace those? And the first person is Ian.
Well, first, let me say this. For some reason, when we talk about community centers in the 6th district, even amongst the other candidates, we seem to forget the Youth Empowerment Center. There is a community center in the 6th district, and it's about how do we empower that community center? How do we make sure that they're able to, seeing they're only one, how do we make sure that they're able to provide for the entire district? Do they have the capacity to provide for the entire district? Right now, I can tell you that as the vice president of the Civic Association, we've had conversations about programming, and not once was that brought up by the councilwoman that we could use that facility for Browntown. And so that's the first thing I want to say. So we eventually want to be able to have community centers to replace the Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club. But how are we taking advantage of what we already have? And I think that we're not fully taking advantage of that now. Outside of that, one of the things that I worked on as a vice president of Civic Association, we wanted to make sure that we had a mentoring committee in the Civic Association to help the kids who go to Bayard that live in the school district. Unfortunately, COVID interrupted that process, but I'm sure we'll figure out a way around that. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, Yvonne?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, the question is, what do you propose to replace lost local institutions that serve the youth, such as Pulaski Elementary School and the Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club?
Well, being a native Wilmingtonian here, I had children myself. I can remember way back when I used to attend Bayard School, and we used to have charm classes, and the little boys, there was a lot of things going on, basketball, Pulaski as well. So I am able to see a lot of the downsides, and oh boy, and that's something that I'm involved right now, and maybe I just need to get with the right coalition people that are maybe have something in place. But I know I've been talking to a lot of teachers, a lot of therapists, and social workers, with the children and the people that I deal with, for elderly, so that those type of things that we can have. I'm joining every coalition, every group that I possibly can or know of to get that back up and running. And I just have whatever they're going to do with it. Because right now it's like an eyesore, and it hurts me. That's a personal issue right there with me. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Yolanda?
Thank you, Jeannie. Actually, I just would like to correct the candidate, Mr. Smith, because I did make him aware of the Youth Empowerment Center, just to let him know that the Summer Safe Haven program, which actually was started by myself, because every district in the city pretty much had its own community center. We did not have a community center. So I wanted to make certain that whatever funding that was actually required, that the state was giving out to each of the community centers, that space received it as well. So they received every year since I've been in office, the same amount of funding every summer that every community center within the city does. Also, I tried to help Mr. Moore, Robert Moore, with the Learning Foundation. This was another little place here in the 6th district. It only got to be open for maybe about a year. We tried to make certain that he got everything that he needed. I worked with Mr. Kelly for Parks and Recreation, getting food for the kids. I actually went to work with County Councilman Jay Street, trying to get funding to make certain that he needed what he required, whatever he actually required. He got what he needed so that this place would not close. Unfortunately, it did. Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club, it's a tragedy. It was already getting low attendance when I moved here. So I think that what they did was they made a call on the fact that the children actually weren't going there. So we have my predecessor, she has worked hard trying to get it reopened, trying to get money sent there, that my former council person, and unfortunately it did not happen. Okay.
Your time's up. Thank you. And Josue.
All right, yeah, so this is a real touchy subject for me because I was born and raised here. I attended the Jackson Street Boys Club and also Pulaski. Now, these are resources that I used to go to growing up, and being able to go to and being able to express myself, being able to do what I like to do. I feel as though we need to bring that back. Unfortunately, I would like to work together with the community so we can sit down and find ways, or find what is it that we want to bring back to our community, which is a community center, because all the canvassing that I've been doing, they're asking for a community center for our youth. It's a tragedy that they took the Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club from us, and also Pulaski. It has its ability to, I think, be a school again, or, and if we want to, since our community 6th district is very diverse. Why can't we try to bring a bilingual school into Pulaski? I think that's a good idea. But the Jackson Street and Boys Club, that property, that vacant, I would love to bring back another community center there, but working together with the community, and we can sit down and see where can we go with this. I'm not going to say it in Spanish because it's a lot in time. I'm not going to have enough time, but this was a real touchy feeling for me, touchy subject for me, because it's something that I want and I strive for to bring back in our community. It's highly needed. We're losing too many youth. We need to start bringing that back. Thank you.
Okay, and that transitions into my next question. Recently, 4 people were shot in the 6th district and 2 of them were killed. What is your proposal to reduce violent crime in the city, especially among young people? And the question goes to Yvonne first. Yvonne, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
My apologies. I'm quite aware of the shooting that went on. I myself, like I said, been here for a while, so I've seen some things. However, I used to be the one who, when they have a shooting, when I came out of school for my PMA, professional medical assistant, I thought I was just a doctor. I wanted to attend to every shooting that they had until a nice person told me, I won't mention the name, like you can't do that because, you know, what they have noticed when they want the person dead, or, you know, sorry to say that, but however, it was the truth. So I kind of refrained from going to the scene, but I just want, you know, it's very sad. And I think we need more mentors in the area. My resource program, I've been gathered a lot of individuals, whether females or males. We need to bring them back to double dutch. You know, come on, basketball. They need something to do. They need something to do. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm trying to bring the communities, not only the 6th district, but it goes for the whole state of Delaware, if I could. It leads to the city of Wilmington. Let's let the children be children. Remove the guns, the drugs. So that's what I'm trying to do. My resource center, I'm trying to build and establish something so that they can be kids and the mentors, things that they need to do as children. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Yvonne. The question goes to Yolanda.
Yes, this actually, you know, is something I've dealt with and dealing with pretty much since it happened. When it comes to reducing crime in the city, I've actually been just trying to make certain that we protect the residents that live on that area right now. When it comes to dealing with our kids and actually doing something preventative, that takes a little bit more. So I've actually beat the drums on patrolling and beat the drums on when it comes to surveillance cameras. But speaking to the young people, I'm understanding that these people are getting involved in this type of stuff early on, much, much earlier than I assumed. And they really need a safe space, not so much as some type of structured basketball program or anything like that. It's more so a safe space where they know that they can go somewhere and get a meal, bathe, and be okay if their parents aren't home at that moment. And so to me, this is actually something that we need to be working on. It's more so, it's a little less about basketball and painting at this moment. If we want to reduce crime, I think this should be the target. More so about having a safe space for children. And that way, once the trust is built, the mentoring can actually take effect.
Thank you. The question goes to Josue.
Hello. Yes. I think reducing crimes is the 3 C's. First C would be curfew. I think we need to implement curfew, not for forever, but until we be able to control what's going on in our community and until we have resources coming in. So we have somewhere for them to go to or somewhere for them to lean on. Besides, you know, it may be a community center or anything above, you know. And then the second C, I think we need cameras. Yeah, we do need cameras on our streets. I believe that's another thing that can help reduce crimes. And the most important thing that I feel as though that we need is community policing. Community policing. Our policemen are in a difficult situation right now because of all the situations that are going on. We have to build our trust back together. You know, we have to build the trust with WPD, also WPD with us. So I think that community policing, it has to come back. We have to get to know our police officers just as well as our police officers have to get to know us. Esa pregunta es que yo pienso sobre el que puede reducir el crimen en nuestra comunidad. Yo pienso son las 13, que viene siendo curfew. Eso es 1 hora a las 9 de la noche. Los jóvenes tienen que estar en la casa. Cámaras. Y también más policía comunitario, haciendo comunitario las policías para ellos puedan conocernos a nosotros como comunidad y nosotros como comunidad a ellos. Thank you.
Great. And Ian?
Well, most of the suggestions that I heard are reactionary, right? So first of all, the violence is driven by trauma, right? So how are we addressing trauma? And not trauma when it presents itself at 16, 17, and 18, and we're afraid of them. When trauma presented itself when they were 5, 6, and 7, when it would have been much easier. So programs geared towards like organizations like DAPI that works with young ladies who are giving birth. How do we support mothers and young ladies having children? How do we support children at a younger age, which are like programs that I've already started to do this type of work, right? And the other thing is this, right? If I don't love myself, I don't love another human being. So the people who are around us love us the most. So how do we get community people involved in supporting the reduction in violence? So to me, rather than asking the police to do it, I would ask, how do we get the community, investing in the community to be involved in that? Work that I have personally done, worked with other brothers, walking in neighborhoods to be present, to talk to our children. So twofold, we need to address the children when they're 17, 18, and they're carrying the guns. And looking for adults who aren't afraid to walk up on these kids, and also providing the support when they're younger so that we don't have to walk up on them at that age. How do we involve the community and the family? Trauma. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. The next question is, the 6th district is one of the city's so-called gateways to the riverfront. What would you propose for the 6th district to share in some of the prosperity that happens at the riverfront? The question goes to Yolanda.
Okay, thank you. It's actually funny that you state that, Jeannie, because that's what I've been proposing to our mayor since I've gotten to office, making certain that he was aware that this is the second entrance to the riverfront. I propose that we actually start now. The MVF building is the commercial building that's right next door to the DART. They are proposing to actually do a restoration, a whole renovation of that whole space. But before that, we actually need to change what the whole environment, the rest of that environment looks like. I really do not want to see any people coming to work there and start tearing, or not rather the tearing, but building up that space until we've actually changed the environment. And I think by facade improvement along Maryland Avenue, we already started with doing the sidewalks, and then the paving of the streets are going to come. And I believe that facade improvement, and then making certain that we actually reduce the crime in that area. We've worked with the Newcastle County Police Department before, and the state, when it came to all the different types of activity that was happening on Maryland Avenue. We can do so again, have our cameras, and once we change the atmosphere of the whole environment, I believe that it will finally be able to really start to benefit from the riverfront. People will start coming to the riverfront straight through Maryland Avenue. It will benefit the stores and other little storefront areas along Maryland Avenue trying to get to the riverfront. I believe that it will definitely benefit all of the business owners on Maryland Avenue.
Thank you. The question goes next to Josue.
All right, so yeah, I agree. First, we would have to work with cleaning up our community before we even get to that aspect. We have to work together, clean our streets, so we be able to feel comfortable walking. You know, I live on Lancaster. How many times would I love to walk to Riverfront and have a dinner with my family without worrying about anything? I feel as though that we first need to clean up our community and then have attractions like for our youth. Like, why can't we bring a main event down to the riverfront so we can attract all our youth? We have attractions for seniors too. We can implement them type of ideas. But at first, the main thing is to work together. I would like to sit down with Browntown, Hedgeville, and the riverfront to see what ideas do they have, or what ideas can we come up with so we can make it a better quality of life, not only for the 6th district, but unfortunately for the whole city of Wilmington. But I feel as though first we need to work on what we have going on first, and then start going into that. Thank you.
Ian?
Well, the first thing I would say is, as resources are coming into the riverfront, I'd love to see us really provide support for our sisters who are selling themselves on Maryland Avenue, selling themselves on Lancaster Avenue. How do we provide support for them when we're talking about cleaning up the visual, what it visually looks like? How do we support our sisters there? Second, how do we hire people who live in the 6th District to work in the riverfront and bringing those resources back? And as we begin to develop, how do we have community agreements to make sure that as you're building up the 6th District to match the beauty of the riverfront, that you're not placing them, they're unable to purchase homes or buy into these new developments. So, you know, in addition to, you know, making sure that whatever you're developing and you're building at the riverfront, there is a common interest for the residents in the 6th District. I can tell you right now, already there's a cycling club in Browntown that we enjoy going down to the riverfront and entering the Jam Trail and riding around. So that is already beginning, and I'm looking forward to that continuing. That support of the development of the riverfront and making sure that the residents of the 6th District are benefiting from that, and not just Browntown, which is the closest to it.
Thanks, Ian. And lastly, Yvonne. Yvonne, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, now we can hear you.
Okay, I will. Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was, the 6th District is one of the so-called gateways to the city's riverfront. What would you propose for the 6th District to share in some of that prosperity?
Wow. Well, there again, in being a Wilmingtonian, I've seen a lot. It really is. There was a time where it could walk and there was nothing there, but it's amazing to see the riverfront as basically another city. And I'm amazed to see that. It's just an eyesore, like Ian and a couple others have mentioned about the people walking up and down. I see them with the signs, they're homeless. We really need to work on that. We really do. That's such an eyesore. The females out here, you know, maybe they're selling themselves or whatever they're doing, prostitution. Let's work on that. Let's work on that. And like there again, with the caregiving skills that I have myself reached out to a lot of them, and they're good people. They really are. So maybe that's something that we need to work on with those individuals. And like with the riverfront itself, being there, I'm pretty sure they would like to share into the nice things that's going on because they're human first. There's a lot of upbuilding. Like I said, I'm really astonished. I'm proud that the riverfront is there. I propose anything that's going on, and as long as it's positive and it's helping the community, I'm for it. I'm for it in any way I can help. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to questions from the audience. People can submit questions on comments on the Facebook Live video, and we've compiled a few here. So I'm going to start asking them. The candidates get a minute to respond to audience questions. The first audience question is, what do the candidates think about the policy of rolling bypass, in which the fire department has to shut down an engine when it reaches a certain number of vacancies or a certain number of absences from firefighters? And that question goes first to Josue.
All right, so yes, la pregunta fue que yo pienso de la ley que pasaron sobre los bomberos, un día estar cerrado, un día por semana. So basically, that's something I would like to sit down and get to know a little bit more about it. I am not really educated on it. I'm sorry about that, but I will get educated, and I would like to work with the fire department and to come up with solutions so that we all be able to work together and feel like, you know, that we are something. And the firefighters are very, is a big asset in our community. I'm saying they risk their lives every day. They attend everything that you name, from accidents to murders to anything. So I would love to sit down and go through that with them and see if we can come up with solutions to get by that law. Esa pregunta, pues yo digo, es que siento que, ¿sabes? Tenemos que sentarnos me gustaría sentarme con los bomberos para orientarme más, educarme más sobre esa ley y a ver si podemos sentarnos y traer una solución sobre para que los dos estén bien. Gracias. Thank you.
And Ian?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm a fan of the fire department. They have saved homes on both sides of my home, and I'm so grateful for them. So I think that the important thing is the standard is, can you respond in 4 minutes to a crisis? And so, never knowing what that crisis could mean, it's important that we try our hardest to stay within that standard. So, you know, there's something I personally would like to know is the statistics. How often are we out of compliance with that in terms of, is there something going on in the city that would put us out of compliance for that 4 minute response? You know, we lost 3 firefighters in Canby Park, and that was tragic, and no one wants to see that happen again. No one wants to go to a funeral for a first responder, or anyone for that matter. And so as long as we keep looking for different solutions and different opportunities to mitigate that, right? And listening to the experts. What are the experts saying? So the more we invest in our fire department, the better that we are. And I'm looking forward to being on the opportunity to be on the council floor, to be a part of that discussion and to continue talking to firefighters and getting that firsthand knowledge from them, as I've been allowed to do thus far.
Yvonne?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm like Hosea. I'm not a lot really educated, but I understand the question that you said, and it says something about when the engine goes down, they have a certain time. That seems really dangerous to me if I'm understanding the question. But however, I will say that on January 22nd, 2009, I had a bad house fire in the house that I'm currently residing in now. And they came. It took 40 firemen to take out the fire within 20 minutes. And I wasn't home, but my son was 11, 12 at the time, going to school. So that was a very dangerous and serious situation. I could have lost my son. But however, they came and did what they had to do. And one of the fighter fires that was in Ellesmere, he was one of the ones I was told that kicked down the door and said, we can do it, he can do it. He was one of the we should, as a team, something has to always be, put together and make sure that they're doing their job. And not only that they have the funds that they need to do whatever they need to do, because we strongly need the fire department. We don't need anything to go wrong with them. Like I said, being a victim of a bad house fire that took out my whole second floor, that thank God for insurance. But that was something.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yolanda.
Thank you, Jeannie. Well, the tragedy that Ian spoke of basically happened right after the primary. The 3 firefighters that we lost, in the rolling bypass is basically has been held to blame for the reason why the firefighters were not unable to get there in the appropriate amount of time. There's been a whole report. People have actually, made statements on both sides. And I just believe that honestly, to me, it's a dangerous practice. I've built a relationship with the firefighters pretty much from then on, just trying to find out exactly what's going on, what they need. I don't even know whether or not any of the other council people actually visited the fire stations as we had in this session, just to make certain that we had a true understanding of what was going on. I just believe the practice is a little dangerous, and the fact that we still need manpower. Right now, I understand that everything is based upon our budget. I get that. But I do believe that we can find funds for other things that may be a little bit more decorative than vital when it comes to the city of Wilmington. And I believe that firefighters right now, they really need our support. And so when it comes to rolling bypass, in my opinion, it's still just a dangerous practice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks for your answers. The next question coming from the audience is from someone who says that they see a lot of homeless people and families struggling due to the economic downturn in the 6th district. And so their question for the candidates is, what would you do to fight poverty within our district? And the question goes to Ian first.
Thank you. First, there's a couple approach. One, I think that if we want to take it serious, we need to figure out how to bring the resources that we do have closer to the people who are homeless. So possibly having a van that's set up to go to areas that the homeless congregate underneath 95, making sure that they medically are okay, making sure that they have appropriate clothing, making sure that they're not hungry, making sure that there aren't children connected to these people that we're unaware of. Those are some of the immediate things that I would address. But also I want people to understand, when you believe homelessness looks away, you're not understanding homelessness. There are people dressed in suits who are homeless, right? So there's going to be a different approach based on the reality of homelessness, right? And the reality is most of us are 2 paychecks away from being homeless. So we want to get real specific about which population we're talking about. And if it were me, I would focus my attention on working with mothers who have children who are homeless, and finding employment that allows them to still be able to have a voucher for their children to be somewhere safe while they're at work, while we support them and they build up themselves to find a place to rent and hopefully become a part in our home ownership program. So that would be one of my approach. Thank you.
Next is Yvonne.
Okay, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. How will we fight it? Well, that's something that I'm continuously doing all the time. My platform is basically to individualize the families to see what they need. I work with food banks. Like I said, I do social service work. I do a lot. My main thing is to help the families, rather it's schooling. So like I said, my platform is to be able to individualize what each family needs. Is it clothing? Is it food? Is it education? Are the parents? You need help? You didn't fell off, so you need to come back. I got the resources. I had people to help me to help you. So that's where I would start, because everybody's family household is different and everybody's looking for different things. And I believe that will make a strong community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Yolanda, how would you fight poverty and homelessness in the district?
Okay. Now, I actually just joined the Board of Housing Alliance of Delaware, basically just so I can have a better relationship with Continuum of Care, which throughout the state is actually helping our homeless population. Because of the closing of a lot of the resources here in the city of Wilmington, that's the reason why we're now seeing it more prevalent. Not even so much because of COVID. We started seeing more of the homeless people because of RVRC being closed down, the connections being torn down, and also the loss of beds at the Y. So they lost resources, and now we see them in all of the coffee shops and, wherever that they can find a place, and that they really need help. So I was trying to suggest different places here within my district when it came to where could we make certain that they were comfortable, at least so they would be out of the cold. Because Wilmington, even though that they have not a large place to stay, this is still where most of the resources are. If you need to come to Horizon, or if you need to go to the State and Social Service Building, they still need to be here. So they're all going to populate here anyway. So we need to make certain that they actually are no longer out in the elements. So that's one. I have a personal connection with this. I actually was homeless and stayed at the Home Life Management shelter for about 10 months when my son was 4 days old. So I definitely understand what's going on and how you end up getting to that space. I was a working young person, and still became homeless. So I do know. So that was the reason why I felt it was so important for me to align and connect myself with the Housing Alliance in Delaware, because I just didn't feel like someone who actually had that personal connection or understanding the word wasn't there. So I'm sorry, I'm out of time now.
Okay. Thank you. And Josue.
All right, so what was the question again, so I can repeat it in Spanish? I'm sorry.
The question is how you would fight poverty and homelessness in your district.
¿Cómo voy a pelear la situación que estamos teniendo con los deambulantes y otras cosas que son igual? So, as we know, this is a big issue in our district. It's very big. I know there are resources out there, but they haven't got to our community. They're not getting out to our community. I feel as though that we need to work together and with the city, state, and county officials and elected officials, and we come up with better outreach, better outreach, so we can go out there and get to these homeless people and find resources for them. I feel as though there is a lot of resources, but there's not a lot of outreach going on. I see that, I don't see no outreach going on. So para la pregunta, lo que voy a contestar es que siento eso es un problema bien grande en nuestra comunidad. Pero pienso que necesitamos sentarnos y trabajar junto con el Estado, con el condado y también con las personas que son el Estado en la ciudad también, para poder buscar más recursos y mejores recursos para llegar a esta gente de que están pasando por situaciones difíciles. Y lo que estamos pasando, la pandemia, no lo hace mejor. So, tenemos que trabajar juntos para llegar a esta meta. Gracias.
Thank you. The next question is about a pretty hot topic in the city over the past 4 years. Are you for or against the mayor's proposed blight legislation regarding how to deal with vacant and blighted properties in the city? And, if you please explain why you're for or against it, and also ways in which you would propose to change it if you want that. The question first goes to Yvonne.
Okay. So the mayor's talking about the lighting. Okay. So
the question is about the blight legislation about vacant and blighted properties.
Vacant and lighted properties. Okay. Vacant and lighted properties. Vacant, like I myself personally, I don't want to be around vacant properties, because vacant properties have a lot of stuff going on in them. Rather it's criminal activity, maybe it's the rodents, or it could be a fire. So I would most definitely want something to be done about that. And I have did a lot of complaints in the past and currently. If I see something, especially in the community, I'll report it. I'll just question it, report it, do whatever I have to do. Lighted areas, I think, is good because there are people that work at night that aren't so lucky to have transportation. And there should be some light. We know when there's light, crime is lessened. At least that's what it used to be. But however, I agree with, the light on properties. Like I said, because of people that don't have cars and have to walk, children, the babies, women in strollers, or even men. because people are always trying to rob you or do negative things. So we need the light. It should be light on properties. I totally agree. All right. Thank you.
The question goes to Yolanda.
Okay, thank you. So when it comes to the blight bill that the mayor administration has suggested, I am against the bill. The reason that we've actually created the Healthy Community Subcommittee was in order to start finding ways to break down that bill into different sections in order to get what he's trying to get accomplished without putting others at risk. I felt as though we would have created a tool with that blight bill that would have basically swept everyone up in a net rather than just dealing with the bad landlords, as which he basically was stating. And nowhere in that bill actually really talked about bad landlords. So in order for us to actually start working with, making certain that the bad landlords are held accountable, L&I actually has really started, a little more vigorous way of rental inspections. We need to make certain that we get these people who are not registering their property. They are not registered as landlords. We have to get them registered. And we actually have a new ordinance put in place. It is about the vacants that just happened at the end of last year. And we need to start making certain that we enforce that, because we have allowed, when it comes to the vacant and abandoned properties, you are able to use something similar to what the mayor actually wants, which is going from criminal to civil and being able to find those properties until you're able to take them out of that abandoned, that bad landlord's hands. Thank you.
Thank you. The question goes to Josue.
Ok, la pregunta es que si estoy de acuerdo con una ley que se llama blight. At this moment, I feel as though that the blight legislative, I would like to look into it more. I feel as though that we can tweak it a little bit more so it can be better for both sides, evenly. And I think that we just need more resources for low-income families, sort of like giving homes to low income and having them, remodel them, themselves if they can, if they're able to. Now, the blight bill, going straight to the grain, like I said, I think we need to work on, tweaking it a little bit so we all have a win-win situation. This is not about, who wins out of it or who loses out of it. This, we have to come to an agreement that we both come to a level agreement that we're both winning at the same time. I think we should bring back, I'm happy that we're bringing back the pre-rental inspections. That is very highly needed. I think that is very highly needed. So mi contestación para esa pregunta es que siento en estos momentos tenemos que bregar un poquito más con la ley, porque siento que no está nivelado, está más para un lado que para el otro. So siento que tenemos que nivelarlo y para poder pasar esa ley. Y siento que tenemos que tener más recursos para las personas de ingresos bajitos, para ellos puedan poder comprarse una casa y remodelarlo ellos mismos. Gracias.
Thank you. And lastly, Ian.
Thank you. Well, there have been many versions of the blight bill that have been presented. And I think the progress towards getting to where we need to has been slowed down with the bickering that's gone on in city council and between all parties. And so, first of all, I think that we need to figure out what areas of the blight bill can we come together on and move in that direction, right? So breaking it up is a good idea, in terms of being able to figure out where we can agree on. Going from criminal to civil is a great idea in terms of moving forward. But coming up with great ideas for vacant homes. What are opportunities that are presented to us in terms of what we can do with that? But here's the thing: we don't have to think only in a box, because this is an issue all over the country. So what are best practices going on throughout the nation? We don't have to be the smartest person in the room. We could just do some research. And so once we do some research and we have a spirit of cooperation and wanting to work with each other, we can get to where we want to get to, which is getting people from being homeless to renters, getting people from renters to homeowners, making sure that that people are not priced out of the market, encouraging people to want to come to this amazing, beautiful city like I came to this amazing, beautiful city, right? So those are the things that we want to work on, and we can do that through legislation. Thanks.
All right, thank you, everyone. And that transitions into another audience question. The majority of the city population is renters. How can the city best facilitate homeownership education? The question goes to Yolanda first.
Thank you. That's actually a great question. We've been trying to make certain that we did something similar to that pretty much throughout. One of the programs that's actually been started by our council president or restarted was the Homestead Act or Homestead program. And with that program, she wanted to make certain that people actually had an understanding of, when it came to vacant houses, how you can actually be, if you have the type of sweat equity to put one back and, repurpose one, then to come and educate yourself when it comes to financing and things of that nature. But on a larger scale, with more than just the contractors, we have been putting together information packets that people, I just don't believe that they've actually got a chance to see. If you're getting information just from your the city council newsletter, or maybe even your the press releases, it may not get to everyone. That's one of the things that I have noticed. I've always had to try to flyer when it was of importance to make certain that more people got a chance to have an understanding. And that's basically what it's all about, education. I would actually have to, I'd have to concede that question, because we're still working on that now, trying to figure out the best way to educate the entire city on just any type of situation.
All right, Josue.
Yes, I agree with Yolanda. We need to educate our community more about these type of issues. I also think that we need more programs and resources, and affordable programs and resources for our low income. I feel as though we need to bring more programs that are affordable, like I said, affordable for the low income, so they can have somewhere to go and become homeowners. So a lot of these people, a lot of people are not making that high end money, and especially with this pandemic going on, it's not helping out. So my answer to that question, and I'll repeat it again, I'm sorry, I think we need more programs and more resources for our low income. La pregunta era para qué podemos hacer con las propiedades que son para rentar. Pienso que necesitamos más recursos para las personas que son bajo de ingreso, para poder tener algo o poder comprar una casa. Siento que tenemos que trabajar juntos para encontrar recursos, otra vez repito, para las personas que son bajo de ingreso, para poder tener algo. Gracias.
Ian?
Please forgive me. Could you restate the question?
Okay. Yes, the question is that most people who live in the city are renters. So what could city government do to facilitate homeownership education?
Well, one, we could have closing costs assistance. That would be a great support. We have many Black and brown people in the city who are renters, and assisting them to become homeowners should be a focus. And because this is a predominantly Black city, and I think that once you build up the equity in the family, you're building up the equity in the city, right? So, I want to answer your question, and basically, I think one of those things is a closing cost assistance, but there are trickle effects on being able to do that and building generational wealth, so that the next generation of family does not need assistance, right? So I think if you start one place, you will have other effects moving further down the line as you move to the second generation. It's pretty painful to see someone own a home for 35 years to lose it because they couldn't make repairs, and that home not get passed on to the next generation. So there are a few things that could be done, but that would be one of the things I'd love to see done, because that's the biggest barrier to someone owning a home, because we know it's cheaper to pay a mortgage than it is the rent. So it's not like they don't have the money, it's getting in the door, literally. Thank you.
And Yvonne, how would you have the city facilitate homeownership education?
Well, education is what I say. We need the resources. If we can get the city to get more programs, like I said, I come from a homeowner program, but I end up doing it on my own because I educated myself and I ran with it. So that's where I am today in my own home. But that's all we need. We need the people's minds to be set that you want to do. Once we get their mindset that they want to do, first of all, they got to have a job because the house is not free. So there's an education program to teach them. And if the city could allow money, just for the resources, just different types of programs, we have to sit down and brainstorm, because it seems like a lot of the programs that are out here already aren't working. They aren't working for some. So we just need to sit down. The city of Wilmington can sit down with a team of people who are involved in home ownership and just see how we can navigate this thing to make it work for everybody. But people have to be educated and the funds have to be available. So that's another thing. If the funds are not there, nothing's going to happen. So that's where I am with that. And I'm in the process of helping a couple of people as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. So we just have time for one last question. If your question didn't get asked, the city committee is collecting all of your questions that were not asked and providing them to the candidates so that they can follow up in the future. The last question is, in today's climate of police brutality coming to light and national calls to defund the police, what is your position on police reform and what kind of measures do you think should be taken for the community to have more trust in the Wilmington Police Department? The question first goes to Josue.
All right. So yes, I do not agree with defunding the WPD. What I feel as though is that we need more community policing. Unfortunately, what we're going through is something very it's not good. So what my feelings and my thinking is that we need to bring back community policing. We need to build that trust back into each other in order to start working and bring in change in any community. Without working together, we're not getting anywhere. I feel as though the cops, we need to come out and we need to build a bond. La pregunta fue que yo pienso sobre la policía con toda la situación que está pasando, sobre lo que está pasando. Yo pienso que necesitamos más guardias comunitarios para poder reconocer a nuestros guardias, igual que los guardias conocernos a nosotros, para poder trabajar juntos como uno y salir hacia adelante. Y trabajando juntos es que podemos echar para adelante, y pienso que trabajando junto con la policía y la policía trabajando con nosotros podemos tener un mejor lugar de vivir. Gracias.
Ian?
Well, how I want to reimagine the police department is having them respond to things that they are trained to do. So 911 calls coming in for mental health issues, homelessness, and public intoxication should go to the appropriate people who can respond to that, who are trained to respond to that. I would also like to add that if an officer is investigated, that should be public record, right? So right now, you may have 100 people out there who've had negative experiences with the police officer, not realizing they're talking about the same 10 people, right? So once we can be transparent on who are the bad apples, so to speak, then I think you build a beautiful relationship with the police department, along with some of the other things that we talked about, community policing, giving police officers an opportunity to be a part of the fabric of the community outside of policing it, and coming up with those ideas. And then lastly, I'd love to make sure that if an officer is fired somewhere else in this country, that they're not able to come to Wilmington and be hired, right? But most importantly, officers want to be able to do more than just police and show up when things are tough. And how do we create an opportunity for them to be there when the smiles are happening, when people are in a joyful place in their life? And so yeah, that's what I would like to see. Thank you.
Yvonne?
Yes. Wow. Well, I have to take you back a little bit, not long, but when I was going to my elementary school, the police used to come as a special event as your officer friendlies. I would love to see that name. And when I mentioned it to my children and my nieces and nephews that are younger than I, they're like, oh no, officer friendlies, that's sad. I would love to see that time. But right now, and I think some of the rules and the policies need to be changed as to how they handle individuals. You're not a criminal until, you're charged or whatever. But I'm just saying what's going on now has to stop. It has to stop. My mind, like I said, is set to the old officer friendly. You can call them up and to handle your problem, come right away. There was no pulling and tugging and throwing you down and murdering you. That's a crying shame. So something most definitely they need to sit around the city of Wilmington. Government needs to sit around a table, all the states, and just find out how can this be done. This is not tolerable. People need their loved ones. We have to live, not die. Police brutality, there's not a spot in my heart for that. Something needs to be done. It can't be all that bad when you get a person. You got a taser. So, I mean, believe in life and not death. Thank you.
All right, and Yolanda.
Jeannie, would you mind repeating that question?
Yes. In today's climate of police brutality coming to light and national calls to defund the police, what is your position on police reform? What can be done to improve the community's trust in the Wilmington Police Department?
Okay. Where do I stand with police reform? I'm definitely for it. When it comes to defunding the police, more so about speaking about what Mr. Smith said, freeing up the police to actually do the job that they are supposed to do. There are, as we look at some of the, when it comes to the budget that the police have, how they get extra funding, some of those funds which are not actually mandatory in order for them to get the job done. I've always kind of laughed at their little shopping or toy list, things that I felt as though were not truly a mandate in order to get the job done, like the trikes that we just spent $100,000 for. So, it is a grant and it's not coming from the city's pockets, but we can use those type of grants to do other things. With what Ms. Ortega said, community police, I believe was one of the best programs that we had here in the city of Wilmington, only because of the fact that especially those who are really used to being able to talk to their officers, they had the same one all the time, and they felt as though if there's an issue, I will call them. I have a lot of elderly people who feel as though, things are going on around them and they don't have an outlet to state this is what's happening. I'm like, community police kind of like solve that. We, when it comes to the children being with police, like Yvonne said, we had kickball over at Kosciuszko's Park and things of that nature. The community police, they all came out and they all in the manner. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was red. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so that's all the questions for tonight. We're going to do a quick 1-minute round of closing statements for each candidate, and we're going to reverse the order that they gave their opening statements in. So the first person to give the closing statement is Ian.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the Delaware Democratic Committee for hosting this event and giving the residents of the 6th District an opportunity to make an informed decision and my campaign slogan is stronger communities, real change. And that's not just a slogan, right? It's my commitment as a council person to be involved in the community, listen to the community, listen to the residents, and to build a stronger community and make real change. I have no problem walking up and down the neighborhoods. I have no problem. I want to make sure that the residents of the 6th district know my name and know my face. I want to make sure that I'm able to push ordinances that they're asking for, right? So thank you to the other candidates for being a part of this. And if you need to get in contact with me, my website is smithforthe6.com. This has been an amazing experience to me, and thank you very much. And vote for me on September 15th. Thank you.
And next is Josue.
All right. I would like to thank everyone who came out today to go on the live. It was an amazing experience for me. I would like to also thank the candidates that are on here. And I would like to let them know, as we're on here now, no matter the outcome, I'm here to help whoever needs my help. I'm here as a community person. This isn't about me. This is about us as one and working together to get our community back. I'm a born and raised resident. I remember being able to walk across town without worrying about getting caught in crossfire or being robbed. I remember when Boys Club existed. I remember when Canby Park swimming pool existed. We need to bring that back. That was when Wilmington was Wilmington. I know the capabilities Wilmington can be, and my heart and my soul is gonna fight to bring that back, because I have kids of my own that I need to make sure their future is right. Not only my kids, but the generations to come. I'm here for you. Vote Josue Ortega. I want to be your voice, the choice for better change. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Yvonne Murray. Thank you, Ian Smith, for coming out and even just coming out to represent the 6th district. That means a lot. And besides, no matter the outcome, I am here to work with all of you. Thank you.
It's a nice message for these times. Yolanda, your closing statement.
Did you say Yolanda?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to thank the 6th Ward for inviting me to participate in the town hall. Again, thank the Wilmington City Democratic Committee for hosting the event. And thank you to the moderator, Jeannie. It was nice to have a friendly face and a voice to talk to. I cannot forget to thank the 6th district leaders, Bishop Redding and President MPC, our 4 neighborhood civic association presidents, Gabe, John, Norma, and Avery. I said, without them, this job would be more difficult, much more difficult. The 6th district took a chance on an unknown community organizer to bring change to the communities. Thank you for entrusting me to get it done. I have hit all my goals and then some for the first term, but it will take more than 3 years to turn things around. Re-elect me, Yolanda McCoy, on September 15th to complete what has been started. So, such as the renovation of MVF building, finish restoring our 6 district parks and open spaces, and to build a recreation resource center here in the 6th district. That is the primary vision. We just want to see whether or not that's something that can be accomplished. The things that we lost here, the assets that have been gone, I am so sorry that they're gone, but they predate me. I got here wanting to, I'm so sorry.
Okay, and Yvonne, your closing.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, everyone that from the virtual live, the Zoom atmosphere, the Facebook, the channel 22. I want to thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Kevin Kelly. It's so good seeing you again. I remember when you did your first term in this area. And also thank the Democratic Delaware Committee for allowing us all to be participants and be able to share our thoughts to the community and the candidates as well. Josue Ortega, Yolanda McCoy, Ian Smith, whoever gets that seat, that's who God wants to be in there. So I will continue to work with you. If I'm not the one who gets in that seat for the 6th district, just know that I'm still a friend and I'll work with you, because it's a longevity type job. And I'm a native Wilmingtonian. I remember as African-American, we couldn't be in Browntown. We couldn't be in Hedgeville. I purchased a home in Hedgeville. So we have come a long way in the community, in this community. I also want to thank everybody that's out there protesting for the Black Lives Matter. Not only Black lives, it's diversity. All lives matter. So all the protesters that are doing that, all the participants, God bless y'all. And we have to make this world, this community as one, so that we can all be happy. And I thank you, and I look for everybody's vote on September the 15th. I have so much to share and so much to offer. I'll stick with you to the end because I am a fighter. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes it. I'm turning this back over to Kevin Kelly.
Thanks everyone for participating in tonight's town hall meeting. As someone who's been through a lot of debates, it's very challenging to answer questions probably rather quickly as you need to be able to do those. I want to give a shout out. Thank you, Jeannie, for your help today on helping us with this event. I also want to thank Yvonne, Yolanda, Ian, and Josue for participating as well within this event. Also, I want to thank Nick Brock from the City Democratic Committee, as well as Matt Marshall, the guy with them colored cards that we was holding up, and also Kerry Macaron from the 5th District, who gave me all my notes tonight in my closing and opening closing comments. But let's make no doubt about it. If you want to find out some information about the Wilmington City Committee, visit wilmingtondems.org to find out more of what's going on the Facebook. We will be having multiple town hall meetings for every district in the city, the mayor's race, and probably city council president as well. Finally, thanks to everyone who attended tonight's town hall meeting. We appreciate the interactivity. We wish we weren't in a COVID world and we could be in a building with everybody interacting with each other, but unfortunately, that's not what we be able to do. The candidates came out tonight, laid out exactly how their vision is for the next 4 years. And we need to be able to get out and make sure we vote on September 15th. You can, as I said, cast your vote through mail if you choose, or to go in person, whatever the easiest way to do is. But no matter what, the 2020 elections are paramount to keeping our democracy back. And with that, I thank all of you for participating tonight. God be with you and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.